Good morning, my fellow scientists. It's Monday, January 16th, 2017. Science is thinking about paradigms. So I read Reddit Out of the Loop today to catch up on the important news that I might have missed this weekend, and ran across this article about how the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster site may be converted into a solar power plant. Now that's awesome because that's unused land that's too contaminated for human inhabitation, but that land could be used for a solar power plant where solar panels will generate electricity and transmit it to needy homes. The solar panels are cheap and easy to install on the vacant land, so hopefully going forward this land will be put to good use instead of just laying fallow as essentially a de facto wildlife preserve. Reddit Out of the Loop decided to cover this because someone posted on Facebook that they were worried about all the people receiving radioactivity with their electricity. Now, that's not how radioactivity works. Radioactivity doesn't transmit through power lines the way electricity does. Electricity is the movement of electrons, and radioactivity is charged particles and photons, not the movement of electrons. Totally different phenomena, won't transmit, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, and yet I'm reading this thinking that her ignorance about how radioactivity and electricity work is sad, but what's more sad is her paradigm. She sees the world as the government's hostility toward the poor and elderly, and trying to argue with her by saying, oh, that's not how electricity works, oh, that's not how radioactivity works. Let me explain to you how radioactivity and electricity work and how we can test scientifically that that won't happen, that we could go and run some experiments with something radioactive and a copper wire and show that there's no radioactivity at the other side. It just doesn't work that way. I could prove it in the lab today, and it wouldn't help. It wouldn't help at all, because she's not actually worried about how electricity works or how radioactivity works. What she's worried about is her relationship to power. And until you can address that paradigm of they are hostile to me and old people and poor people, you are not going to be able to address her concerns by talking about the technical details about how science works. Now, having made that whole rant about that person's perspective, I read another comment changed my paradigm of that whole post. A comment noted that that may well just be a troll, and I referred to that comment as a female person, and that was because it ended with two X's, and my assumptions and my preconceptions said that ending a Facebook post with two kisses seemed female to me. That's unfair. That's a poor assumption. And I also assumed that the person was being sincere. Again, that's not a good assumption. I had my paradigm shifted because when I read, oh, this could be just a troll who's trying to get a rise out of someone, that changed my perspective on that comment completely. Anyway, so amusing. So what is a paradigm? This is the classic example of a paradigm. Some people will look at this image and see an old woman, or other people will look at this image and see a young woman. And it does no good to point out which white features are a mouth and which white features are a nose, because people see this differently. So in order to see it, you have to really look from the other person's perspective. I just tried to draw the outline of the young woman, and now I'll try to draw the outline of the old woman. Now, when I put these things next to the original image, hopefully you can see how one person would see one thing and the other can see the other. Our paradigm is the set of assumptions and predispositions that make us see one thing or the other in the same set of lines, the same set of pixels. So the big puzzle for me going forward is, how do you identify people's paradigms and how do you help them shift them to a more appropriate one when that's necessary? Hope you'll tune in tomorrow for more about science, science news, and the exciting process of expanding our minds